From South Korea, in the bottom right, our Protoss, he is Stats! His opponent in the upper left, here to break the Korean combo from Finland. Make some noise for Serral!
Once again, everything on the line. Score is 3-2. Serral on match point for the rest of this series. But Stats, he's starting to gain that momentum. Serral has to be wondering, what strategy will Stats pull out next?
I am so curious, because the fact that Serral, each game is so similar to the one before, and that's unusual, especially for a finals with two StarCraft 2 pros, but they both seem to be committed that they really do have the best way of approaching this matchup, and there's no need for tricks. There's no need for deception. You just go in and you do it better. You want to be faster, you want to produce more, and cover all your bases, cover all your loose ends, come out with a win.
Well, as smart as that sounds, I kind of want to see some tricks and deception coming up here from one of these guys. You know, they're finding out so much about each other, but this nonstop brute force battle of them barely bending out of their styles, just showing off how strong they are. It might behoove one of them to do something sneaky to try to pick up a quick victory.
Yeah, I mean, if Stats wins here, it's actually tied up. We're going to go to the final game, which would be crazy, and Stats might actually have a reverse sweep, which, again, we cast a lot of StarCraft guys. You just never have that happen.
It is a rare thing indeed, no question about that. And if Stats does that, I mean, he is going to be a hero back home in South Korea. But first, we have to see what's he going to do, a Stargate.
So this is a rematch of GSL versus the World, where Serral actually managed to win this series 4-3. And when that happened, the #1 thing trending on the news in South Korea, if you search for it, it was on Naver, which is like Korean Google basically, was that a Korean lost to a non-Korean. And all the Koreans on the message boards were saying, all right, we need to step up our game. This is unacceptable. Now, we're having this happen again here. There's just so much pressure really for Stats. It's hard to find any country that's as good as at anything as Korea is at StarCraft.
Yeah, I would argue that it just does not exist. Their reign of domination has been thorough. Never expected this day to come, but happy that it's here where Serral really can challenge for that #1 spot. And look, already a very nice scout. He gets those 2 lings in, scouts exactly what's going on. In the meantime, a single adept in the base of Serral.
So far, everything pretty ordinary. We have that Phoenix coming out with an Oracle behind it. We see Serral setting up that 3rd base. Again, guys, nothing looks really cheesy. Nothing seems to be deceptive. They just want to play straight up standard StarCraft.
Yeah, now what is the next tech step here for Stats? With the Zerg player, you are normally the reactive player. You're kind of sitting back, trying to figure out what your opponent is doing and absorbing that so that you can grow larger and larger on the map, quite literally, and take them out in the later game. Oh, a second Stargate once again from Stats. Okay,
now we've seen him tinker with this, but never do anything, you know, crazy or dramatic with it. He just goes around and tries to keep pressure and bully the Zerg. The games that we've seen Stats win, he pretty much has Psystorm, Immortals. He has all the bases basically covered. He's deflected the Baneling drops or the Ling counterattacks. And then he pushes, and he just has the right surface area where nothing the Zerg can do is going to work. So there is the opportunity here. You can do this in pretty much all the matchups to try to really do a very precise attack right in the mid-game and interrupt that moment, basically stopping the game from getting where it would be.
Yeah, indeed. Now, it is important to note that Serral spent money to get Overlord speed rather early on, so he's going to get a solid scout of these Stargates before Stats is ready for him to know. That's really going to help Serral in properly countering this build order and properly countering this strategy and not losing many drones.
Exactly. I mean, in a game like StarCraft, you need to see, if you can find out what your opponent's doing, a lot of times you can counter it. This is what makes this game different from so many other strategy games historically, is it is incomplete information. You can hide stuff, and a lot of times you can even trick your opponent. You can give them a red herring. StarCraft is also a game about lying and deception.
Well, he's running his Phoenixes away, but finally the Overlord does spot them. Serral now knows what's going on. And I gotta say, Tasteless, you say it's a game of incomplete information. It always has been, but sometimes it feels like when I'm watching Serral that he has complete information. And he reacts so well. Look at this, additional spores going up, extra queens being made. He's really getting ready for these Phoenixes.
Okay, here come those Phoenixes now, and I don't think they're really gonna do the damage that Stats is looking for. If the queens are already here to basically deflect this.
Yeah, the Phoenixes flying around, they see those queens. You're not going to fly into that, that's for sure. Flying across, going towards the third base. We'll see if anything's there. In the meantime, of course, getting up into his double robo.
Okay, that double robo coming up here, and now the Phoenixes have come in. They do not get that one queen, or the one Overlord, excuse me, over there. He's going to try to fly into the main instead, see if he can't pick off any drones.
Serral is serious about his defense here. Look at that, 3 spores and a queen in the main base. Still picks off some drones. I mean, if you have this many Phoenixes, you're always going to get some damage, but you don't want to lose them too early.
It's interesting because when you see a player invest in these Phoenixes, they really do have to do some damage. You can't invest in it and then nothing happens. So each of these drone kills is so important. And so far, so good. That's what he was looking for. But behind this, Stats is going to get more and more immortals so he can actually combat a Zerg ground army.
Yeah, and that is what Serral's building up to right now. He has the Baneling Nest on the way. He has the Hydralisk Den on the way. That's what Stats expects to see. That's what he expects to play against. He just needs to slow Serral down enough that he has his Psystorm ready, he has his Immortals, his Charge, his Gateways, his economy all together.
A few Lings coming in here. Again, we saw in the earlier games he attempted to snipe those sentries, but we're not having anything like that right now. And really what Stats is doing, he's beginning to pay off those Phoenixes. He's getting the drones, he's getting the kills. I'm really liking this game for Stats.
Yeah, he's only a few workers behind right now. Look at that, 15 drones already killed off, a couple Overlords as well. But Serral's getting into a nice unit composition, and he's getting ready for his deadly Swarm Host play again.
Okay, another big kill there. These Phoenixes, it seems like Serral's really struggling with just the position that they're in. You have to have your queen split up correctly. And because there's so many Phoenixes, one of them can tank some damage while the rest will end up taking out these workers.
Yeah, he keeps harassing those gas workers as well, very importantly. Now, he saw that there was an infestation pit, but it is not for Swarm Hosts. Serral is rushing up the tech tree right now. It looks like he's going to go for Broodlords.
And this is the deviation that we were wondering about. He couldn't possibly go for Swarm Hosts every single game. And I'm curious to see if Stats is actually going to be ready for this and how exactly he will respond.
Well, he just scouted that hive, and the hive isn't very far along, so that's a very important moment here for Stats. He has to decide now, do I try to kill Serral before he gets into Broodlord play? Or does he back up? Does he get carriers or Tempests to deal with that in a longer game?
The Phoenix is coming in again. He might try to clip off a few more drones. And I got to say, man, this is really becoming a lot of worker kills. This is way more than we had in previous games, and that's pretty scary. So 22 drones total have been killed off. Now, he lost 3 Phoenixes, but that's fine. Okay, I mean, really, the idea here is that every time you kill a drone, they have to remake it. If they're remaking a drone, then they're not making an attacking unit.
Absolutely.
And if you killed off a bunch of drones and they didn't remake them, then they would just be slowed down overall. So this is a very common technique to try to punish Zerg players, is you come in there and try to eliminate workers so that while you're building an army as the Protoss player, they're just trying to reform their economy.
Well, Serral is keeping on his path at least, right? He's got that Greater Spire started now. He's continuing his upgrades for his Zerglings and Banelings, and as well as those Hydras. His army is, I mean, it's pretty good, but Stats is moving out before that Broodlord tech comes into play.
Pretty even in supply, and with the Broodlord tech actually as far away as you were saying, Artosis, I'm worried that there might be an opportunity here to punish, but Serral does come with a little counterattack here. Can he get the denial on this Nexus? If he could, that would be huge, but Stats is ready.
Oh, is he ready for these Banelings with speed? Okay, nice handling right there by Stats, but Serral, of course, setting out another little counterattack. Banelings headed certainly towards one of his expansions.
The name of the game for Serral is to try to buy time, and with this counterattack, is Stats going to notice he's evacuating these probes, and they do not connect.
Those Banelings, they don't get as much damage as he was really looking for. That's okay, though. It's not the biggest investment, but that Greater Spire, it is on the way. It's going to finish up. 5 Corruptors ready. 5 Broodlords would change the course of the upcoming battle.
That's absolutely right. We see those Broodlords coming up here. Now, one way to play against the Broodlords, you can do it a little bit like you would against Swarm Hosts. Sometimes you just avoid actually engaging them and then try to attack them elsewhere. Broodlords are not fast units. In fact, they're frankly quite slow. So that's one way that you can try to exploit a player who is going for that kind of tech.
Well, just look at this. Serral is keeping stats so busy with these Lings, with these Banes. Serral doesn't really care how much damage they do as long as it slows down the attack and buys time for these Broodlords, and that is exactly what it's done. Broodlords are out right now, and Stats does not have a strong counter to them.
Okay, with these Broodlords out, I'm not sure how Stats can really address this. We do see a fleet beacon being made, but of course, getting into that tech, that's going to be a little while, Artosis.
Yeah, he might have to go into Tempest or something like that, which is not the way that a Protoss wants to play. You want to get into mass carriers, but, you have to do what you can do to make sure the Broodlords do not punish you for your lack of tech.
Oh, and we might have a big counterattack here. We see an Enforce coming down here over in the center right. These Hydras are doing a lot of damage. These Archons are not going to be enough. Meanwhile, Stats is going to try to push into the heart of Serral's base.
Oh, Serral with such good positioning on those Broodlords. The Archons cannot reach them when they're over that terrain. In the meantime, the Lingbane Hydra moving in, eradicating these Zealots, going after these Archons as well.
The recall goes back to try to defend, and Serral immediately evacuates. Serral doing a brilliant job of controlling where Stats is on the map.
Oh, is it time for Serral to push yet, or is he going to fall back defensively with these Broodlords? That's the question to answer right now. It looks like the Broodlords are going back for the time being, and that will give Stats time to get out his Tempests.
One thing to note, though, is the way that Serral's played this, he doesn't have a lot of expansions. You basically halt developing on the map to try to get this tech out here, and Stats is really sitting on a pretty good economy.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of bases right now. The Banelings didn't do that much damage to his economy. He's got a lot of High Templars. He's got harassment going out on the map, and now he has Tempest. Stats has gotten himself into a sweet position.
Okay, the Warp Prism, is it going to be taken out? That's actually pretty big. Takes that out. The Warp Prism is basically used in this situation to try to draw attention, pull Serral's screen somewhere else, and then you'll have another attack hit elsewhere. I mean, you have to have such high APM in this game, but you really actually can't be everywhere at once. So we see a lot of top players exploit that. So losing that Warp Prism, this puts Stats in an awkward spot.
Yeah, he does want another one out there to harass at least, right? But at the moment, he's playing a very defensive game. He's making sure that this base is up and mining. He's getting another Nexus to go down. He needs to keep his economy at least close to what Serral has if he's to hold on in the long term.
We're getting to the longest game that we've had so far. Stats is taking a 5th base at the bottom, but it looks like Serral is itching to try to come in here for some kind of counterattack. But so far, the movement here from Stats is looking pretty good.
Yeah, he's moving right up. It looks like this Lingbane Hydra shouldn't get too much done. Yeah, some good storms going down. Stats holds tight.
Can we get a shot of the bottom, actually? Is something hitting that Nexus? Okay, that's not enough. So he's going to keep that Nexus for a little bit longer. But I got to say, Stats, I like that he's pulled back. He's stayed off the map. He's just continuing to grow. When he realized that those Broodlords were there, and again, it takes a long time to move Broodlords across the map. He just went back and started gobbling up resources all over the map.
Well, right now, he's really just working on his air composition. Lots of Corruptors, lots of Broodlords. This is a scary combo, but if Stats continues to add in his big capital ships, Tempest, maybe carriers, he has Archons underneath to defend them from the Corruptors, as well as Psystorms, he can battle toe-to-toe against this.
Okay, Stats is beginning to move out. And you got to be careful because these Tempest, when they hit you, dude, there's not a lot of ways to respond or punish it, right?
He'll be one-shotting these Broodlords momentarily.
Yes. And now we're seeing such a high amount of Archons coming forward here.
Oh, my God. That is a lot of Archons right now. 11 on the field with 4 Tempest upgrades going everywhere. There are a couple Vipers that have joined, so those definitely can change things if he doesn't get the feedbacks off right away.
Okay, another tag there with that Oracle. Now he's actually hit the Broodlords. This is going to be very annoying for Serral. As you can see, the Tempest can then fire into this location, and there's no real way for Serral to retaliate unless he tries to dive on top of this army.
Oh, and it looked like for a moment that he might. The Queen's coming forward, getting feedbacked, but Stats being very careful here. If either side loses their army, that is going to be terrible. They'll lose additional bases while they try to reinforce, and it's going to be very hard at that point to win the game.
So we're getting into super late game, and you can see actually with Serral, he's banked up a lot of minerals and a lot of gas, and the same is true for Stats, although Serral is slightly ahead. But when we have a huge engage and the armies finally collide, we want to see what they remake and how much they can actually remax out on.
Well, right now some Baneling harassment continuing. Gets a decent amount of probes there. Ooh, the Hydra Bane. Actually going towards that base and forcing a recall. That's actually kind of nice. You know, the recall has a long cooldown, so to force that, you now know the capabilities of Protoss on the next time they can do it.
Okay, another attack over here. It looks like he's trying to find an opening, and he's going to be able to take out this Nexus. We don't see much to respond here with, but he immediately cancels. He decides to back off. I think realizing, wait a minute, there's nothing over here. I'm actually surprised Serral's being very cautious in this game, Artosis.
Well, he really wants to finish this. He's great at late game Zerg, and this is a very scary Protoss army. Now, Stats getting over on creep. That can be dangerous. He's pushing forward, clearing out some of this creep, and Serral is actually abandoning the area.
Okay, Stats is pushing forward here, and Serral is actually pulling away. He might sack this expansion. We're seeing Serral play such a cautious game. He knows if there's one big fight that goes wrong on either side, the player's going to lose. So if he's not totally confident, he'll give up that spot and expand elsewhere.
Well, at least he's got some good counterattacks going down here as well, spreading out his Hydras. The Size Storms come down, but a lot of probes falling here for Stats.
Okay, Stats is going to back up. He's cleaned up that side of the map. Very nicely done here by Serral. This expansion is going to go down, although this is not the most valuable expansion on the map. You can see that most of the minerals were already mined out.
Well, he cloaks it, so I guess it's going to live. With the carriers coming out, he will be able to push these Hydras back. So nice save there. In the meantime, Serral did lose 2 bases.
Okay, this could be bad. He gets it.
A beautiful abduct onto the mothership, and he picks it off for free.
Unreal. Yeah, that was out there exposed. So he comes in there, wipes that out, and Serral immediately scurries back. He's also expanding to the upper right. But Stats is almost starting to look like he's the Zerg in this game, Artosis. He has so many bases, hugging every corner here at the bottom.
He does, and his composition continues to get better. You know, he's adding a lot of carriers, continuing those upgrades, remaking that mothership as well. And with this many Archons and Size Storms, it's hard for any Zerg to break through.
Okay, he's going for it. He's harpooning those carriers in here and taking them out. And it seems like Stats has decided he should take his fight elsewhere.
Oh my God, beautiful execution here from Serral, picking off so many Archons as well as some of these capital ships. And now it's Stats giving up bases.
I think that Serral can actually come over here and take this base out in the center right, correct? I mean, there's nothing over there. A good little counterattack here by Stats, doing a lot with a little. But meanwhile, a counter here from Stats, hitting this base on the far left.
Well, now this is how you abuse those Broodlords. They're very slow, hard for them to go defend. In the meantime, Zealots chasing those drones. Oh my God, the Corruptors even getting in on the fight. Serral gonna take down another Nexus.
Okay, can we go big picture here? Let's check how many minerals are at each base here. Let's start with the Protoss here. Okay, so that has plenty. They'll be mining from that for a while. Yep, there's no Nexus there, but down here in the bottom left, okay, this has basically been untouched, so it's more like he has that position. Plenty of minerals over here, and does he have anything more? So that's going to dry up pretty quickly, and that's not going to last for too much longer.
They keep playing whack-a-mole with these expansions, so it's hard to say how that's going to go, but Serral does have a bigger bank than Stats. Oh my God, Serral just jumping on top of absolutely everything, picking up one carrier, another carrier goes down. It looks like he's gonna maybe get all of them.
He's decided to commit. He's coming in here now, and I'm seeing these air units for Stats begin to go down. The mothership taking heavy fire, and this whole location is gonna be given up here by Stats. We now have 194 supply to 141, and there's not a lot of gas in the bank here for Stats.
No, this is gonna be really hard to come back from now for our Korean Protoss player. He's lost a huge amount of his air army. More Corruptors on the way as well. He's running back to defend his home base against this ground counterattack, and Stats has to be careful. Any unit he loses will not be replaced.
It's interesting to see that the center right and the center left of the map, both players have just given up on. They don't want to mess with that side of the map because both of them are having a hard time controlling it. We do see Stats here in the bottom left with a very mineral-rich expansion. He hasn't gotten all of his workers over there, but as this game goes on for a long time, that's going to be important. And the same can be said over here for Serral in the upper right. That base that he's taken over there, going to be very important.
The question right now becomes, how does Stats keep Serral busy, because Serral's army absolutely can kill Stats. But if he overcommits into an area, Stats can hit a lot of different places at once. You see him walking around with different groups of units. Here goes a group of Zealots up to this base. Can he pick that one off?
Okay, he's going for these drones. The drones will have to be pulled away. If he can get the hatchery, that would be ideal. Meanwhile, we've got a huge attack headed down here to the bottom left, and Stats needs to keep this position.
Oh, a lot of banelings rolling in right now. Stats, most of his mining is here. Probes starting to fall. They're trying to run away. Oh, a beautiful baneling hit, and it looks like that Nexus is going to go down.
And with that Nexus gone, there's just not much else that Stats can do in the economy game. I love how Serral then escapes, heading north with the rest of his air army. Oh my God, these banes are going to come in here and start hitting these workers.
He kills quite a few there once again. Stats just down to 30 probes. Look at that, even burrowing banelings now. Serral is just incredible this game.
Serral, interestingly enough, is actually now expanding towards the bottom left. He wants to have this game be all about this corner of the map. This way he can attack the bottom left and also kind of defend the left center.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. Look at this. He keeps flying in here with this Corruptor Swarm. He's looking for that damage. The Lings, they counterattack into the bottom left. Stats can't keep it alive. His army is not big enough right now to defend every location.
I'm wondering if Stats needs to try to then expand over to the center right. Does he just give up this spot? Because it seems like Serral's really grown into this area. And keep in mind also with Stats making like carriers and Tempest, every time you lose that, it takes a long time to remake it. So every win that Serral has gives him a lot of time to capitalize his position on the map.
Well, right now, Stats does have a decent air army once again, but I'm getting nervous for him because he needs Archons under it. He needs High Templars under it. So right now, his singular focus is to rebuild his high-tech units so he can have a great engagement against Serral.
I guess the only other location that Stats could try to take is the one just, if we can move the screen down just slightly. There's actually a base there. And he looks like he could try to maybe expand there. Now, I don't know exactly what the game plan is here for Stats. It seems like he really has to wait and just keep trying to build up.
Yeah.
As Serral is becoming so rich, especially with minerals and gas.
He needs a really strong army to be able to take out Serral. And here Serral comes. This could be a game-ending engagement. No, he sends him back. But a beautiful abduct picks off a carrier that's so expensive for Stats to remake.
I love how he harpoons that, picks it off, and then flies away. And you can see on the production tab in the upper left, the carriers take a long time to make.
He is making them with every mineral that he can afford right now. Stats just going towards that elusive 200 supply. It's been a while since he's had an army that can actually fight toe, but Serral slowly, methodically trying to tear Stats apart here.
Well, Serral doesn't have to do anything right away. If he sees an opening, he probably will act on it, but Stats is trying to build back up. And because he's so low on minerals and gas, and by the way, this is very similar to the game we saw Serral beat Rogan, where Serral seems to have such a complicated understanding of how super late game goes. He knows how to trade efficiently all the way throughout.
Now, oh my God, the Broodlord's actually going for an attack right now. They're going to be able to pick off a huge amount of ground units. All the rest of the Immortals and the Archons over there should fall.
Now with these Broodlords coming in, this expansion is so important here for Stats. Stats cannot afford to lose this. He's not going to have any more minerals to mine from if he does.
Oh, I think this is going to force a fight right now. Stats flying over with his Golden Armada. He doesn't save the Nexus, but in the meantime, some harassment with the few Zealots that Stats has left.
It does appear that Serral should be able to clean the rest of this up, but it's just Stats here with this one base at the bottom center. Not a lot of minerals at that.
Oh, Stats, this is really his last outpost right now. He has to keep it alive. Serral coming in from a flank. There are Asai Storms under here. There are Archons under here. But some Abducts come out and instantly picking off two of the Tempests.
I really do feel like the walls are starting to close in here for Stats. You can see he's slowed down to a crawl here as he's trying to get out of the map. And Serral is basically staying back and looking for a moment to engage. He goes in there, he kills off a carrier, maybe an Archon, and then he flies away. And with the minerals and gas banked up, let's say that they have a huge fight and almost all of their armies are wiped out. Serral is going to be the guy that can remake everything. Stats is not.
It's very true. Stats needs to win a decisive fight against this army and then another decisive fight against the army he refills with. At that point, he has a real chance to take this game.
Some more warp-ins coming from Stats. Once you get this kind of an army, you're kind of stuck going for it. We see the Broodlords coming in. It's actually kind of insane how much damage he's done with these Broodlords. Some more Broodlords coming in here right now, doing some damage. And again, another snipe on the carrier.
A huge snipe right there. Every unit is so hard for him to remake here. He's buying Zealots at this point. That's not what you want with this main army. But Stats still keeping the hope alive. Carriers can be so efficient. Serral with a little counterattack over here, trying to do more than Stats can deal with.
And actually, that's going to get in another nuisance there. It seems like Stats is debating, should he take a fight? Should he try to hit this center left location? Meanwhile, Serral's already expanding to the top right.
Oh man, these Zerglings doing a lot over there as well, forcing him to warp in Zealots that again he cannot afford. But Stats is mining. He's trying to push back some of this creep and hopefully look for that good engagement.
Okay, Stats is going to go in the middle of the map. He's looking for a fight, and I think he's going to get it. We see these Broodlords now being hit. Some good dodging on those Psionic Storms from Serral. Is Serral going to try to come in here and fight this?
Really great micro here by Stats. Look at him rotate those High Templars around, getting those important Psi Storms down on the Corruptors. That's what he's really afraid of.
But with these links coming in, he can take out the rest of these workers. Again, Stats is so low on economy, he needs to protect this expansion.
Okay, it kills 10 of his workers, but in the meantime, he is counterattacking. Looks like he might be able to take out this base. Will Serral go for a big fight? He's actually, picks off that mothership.
Beautiful snipe on the mothership. It's going to be a lot easier for Serral to engage when he decides it's that moment.
These carriers have such damage output you can really see, but look at that. Every time an abduct goes off, he kills another carrier. 2 more fall. The Broodlord's starting to get picked off here as well, though.
He comes in once more. He can basically one-shot these carriers, and I don't think there's any solution here for Stats. He's going to commit. Serral overwhelming the air fleet of Stats.
And that is it. GG.
Serral, you clean sweeped 4 back-to-back WCS titles. Next up was GSL vs. the World, and today, not only are you a WCS Global Champion, you are the best player in the world!
I don't know what to say. Yeah, I mean, when I came here, I wasn't really expecting to win, but at the same time, it was my goal, so yeah, feels incredible.
Serral, this goes beyond you becoming the best of the best. Your legacy goes beyond StarCraft 2. It goes to all of StarCraft history. In the last 20 years, we have never seen a non-Korean dominate in the fashion that you have and become the best of the best like you have. What does it mean for you to be part of this historic moment?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting. I know. I mean, it's just this is kind of what I was missing from my trophy collection, I guess you could say. And I really wanted to win this one, so I'm super happy I managed to do it, and I'm super happy to make history while doing it as well.
Starting from Leipzig of this year all the way here to Anaheim, you have so many fans all around the world that have been rooting for you. What do you have to say to them?
First off, I want to thank all my fans. I think every one of you has helped me to make me achieve what I've achieved. So I really want to thank everyone. And also, I want to give a big thank you to Lambo. He helped me for each series, for preparations, and also to my practice partners for Dark and Rogue, who were Elaser and Namster. So I want to thank all of those.
And there you have it. Your 2018 WCS Global Champion is Serral!
It's an unparalleled achievement across all of StarCraft 2. Nevertheless, esports, as Serral etches himself in history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and what a victory, what a moment we have witnessed here today around the world. Everybody here in the crowd as well. Joining me, Pig, in control, Rotterdam. I'm kind of lost for words.
I think we all are. You know, we've just experienced a special moment. We've seen his determination build himself up. This took years of dedication and practice. This didn't happen overnight. We've seen him grinding those tournaments since he was about 14 years old. Here he is many years later, and he is the undisputed best player in the world.
It makes a massive difference. I think it's not only a huge achievement for Special, it sort of resonates through all of us as StarCraft fans, as StarCraft players. Throughout all of these years, Rotterdam, overall, we've seen Serral has now managed to be able to crown himself a world champion and the best player in the world.
He's done it. I mean, the king has done it, as they like to call him in Europe. It's on.